Hello, today we're going to continue on our journey with linear functions. So we're taking a further look at those lines, but our focus today is going to be on x and y intercepts. Remember back to when we first started working with lines, we talked about graphing lines. Graphing lines was easiest accomplished when the line is written in slope-intercept form, like this one right here. And we can tell by looking at this equation that the slope of this is 6 and the y-intercept is 5. Now those key pieces allow us to graph a line, but using lines in slope-intercept form, that's not the only way to graph a line. You can also graph a line or a curve using intercepts, both the x and y-intercepts. So in this example, let's take a look, don't write this part down, but let's take a look at what it means to be an x and a y-intercept. So in this picture, we can see that the x-intercept occurs right here, this coordinate right here. An x-intercept is where a line crosses the x-axis. So the coordinates of this location are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0. That's the coordinate of the x-intercept. If I do the same thing for the y-intercept, where the line crosses the y-axis, that's at this location right here, this location is 1, 2, 3, 4. This location is 0, -4. Now, if we take a look at those two spots, we can see that they do in fact share something in common. What is it that these 2 points have in common? Well, notice that both of them have a 0 as part of their coordinate. Now, in the x-intercept, the 0 is in the y part of the coordinate. And on the y-intercept, the 0 is in the x part of the coordinate. This is key. When we look to find x and y-intercepts, we should keep in mind that 0 plays an important part in that process. Okay, so when we think about ways to sketch a quick graph of a line, they include using both y equals mx plus b, but today we're going to talk about using intercepts to help us out. So the x-intercept and the y-intercept play important roles in graphing in terms of sketching a quick graph, and they also tell us important things about a graph. And we'll see that later on as our graphs become more complicated in this class. So the x-intercept is the point where a graph crosses the x-axis. To find it, we're going to think about that y as equal to 0. And the y-intercept is the point where the graph crosses the y-axis. But to find it, we're going to make x equal to 0. So let's focus on this example right now. You should be writing these examples in your notes. Find the x-intercept and y-intercept of the equation. Use it to sketch a quick graph. The equation is 5x plus 2y equals 20. Now what we can do here is find these x and y-intercept points and then use that to help us out. Now if we remember, finding an x-intercept involves us taking that equation and making the y become a 0. So if I rewrite this equation, but this time with y becoming a 0, I create this little equation right here. And now I can solve this. 5x plus 2 times 0 is just 0, so I don't even really need to write anything right there. 20. Now if I continue to solve and divide by 5, it says that x will equal 4. Now this means that it's telling me the x part of the coordinate that is the x-intercept. So 4 will be the x part. What is the y part? Well, that's that 0 that we plugged in to start, to begin with, because x-intercepts will always have a number value as the x part and a 0 as the y part for its coordinate. Now let's do the same thing with the y-intercept. To find the y-intercept, though, we make the x equal 0. And once again, we'll simplify this and solve. 5 times 0 is 0, so 0 plus 2y would just be 2y equals 20. Divide by 2, y is 10. This is telling me the y part of the coordinate is 10, and then the x part would be 0, because remember we said x would equal 0 on a y-intercept. So these are our two key locations, an x-intercept and a y-intercept. How does this help me sketch a graph? Well, in your composition notebook, let's make a little graph near this example. You can sketch in the x-axis and the y-axis here. And we want to essentially plot these 2 points and allow these 2 points to help us graph that line. So the x-intercept is 4, 0. You have a beautiful graph composition notebook, so you can find that location pretty easily. This is one point we will use to draw our line. The other point is 0, 10. So that's the y-intercept. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we can go ahead and sketch that quick graph here between those 2 points. Okay, so finding x and y intercepts allows us to sketch a quick graph. Let's take a look at one more here. Finding the x and y intercepts of this example. We don't need to sketch the graph. It doesn't ask us to do that. This example is kind of written in a different way, but we don't need to worry about that. Finding x and y intercepts involves plugging in 0. So to find the x-intercept, we're going to take this equation and make the y become a 0. So it would look like this. 4 times 0, 3x minus 9. And we'll simplify this. 4 times 0 is 0. 3x minus 9, and we go ahead and solve this to get the x by himself. We're going to add 9 over, 3x, 9, divide by 3, x is 3. That means the point that is the x-intercept is 3, 0. And I'll do the same thing with the y-intercept. This time we make the x become a 0. 4 times y, 3 times 0 minus 9. 3 times 0 is 0, minus 9 makes negative 9. 4y equals negative 9, divide by 4. Y equals, I'm going to leave this as a fraction of negative 9/4. So the y part of my point is negative 9/4. The x coordinate of that point, 0. So we have the x-intercept and the y-intercept calculated for this beautiful line. Okay, in the near future, we're going to be using x-intercepts to graph other things besides lines. So it's really important to understand the process of what it means to find an x or a y-intercept. So in summary, if you want to summarize this in your notes, to find an x-intercept, plug 0 in for y, then we're going to solve to find this x part of that coordinate. To find a y-intercept, plug 0 in for x, and we're going to solve to find the y part of the coordinate. That is the way we work to find x and y intercepts. Thank you.